names I up. This meeting is being recorded, just so everyone's aware. And those of you that are on, you're not on camera, so don't worry that you're being recorded. But again, I want to welcome everyone. I think I know every single name on this participant list, but those of you who don't know me, I am Lindsay Scott. I'm the sales manager for the Northern Ohio region for Kendal at Home. I don't think I need to give any of you a spiel about Kendal at Home because most of you are Kendal at Home clients, and we're thrilled that you're here. Those of you that are not Kendal at Home members, I believe I've seen most of you on a Kendal at Home presentation. If I'm incorrect, we are going to, at the end, I will put up some information as to some upcoming information sessions specifically about Kendal at Home, if you want a refresher or if I'm incorrect and you haven't seen a presentation before. With that, I am so excited. Those of you that joined Kendal at Home, I know working with you, your main goal for most of you was, I never ever want to leave my home. And that was your driving force behind partnering with Kendal at Home. And Jackie is joining us today to talk a little bit more about how we can make your home more functional for you as you age in place. Well, and Jackie, you're going to talk a little bit about aging in place. I'm going to read for you. I've got a great bio on Jackie, and it's better than anything I could have, tried to come up with, and I don't want to miss a thing about it. Jackie Dobson is an inventor, a task analyzer, problem solver, product and furniture designer and maker, resource specialist, accessible space designer, car racer, hacker, product and information info junkie, collaborator, educator, short-term realtor, and past occupational therapist. That is a lot, Jackie. That's a lot to fit into one life. What is all that? Yeah. What does all that equal? A great combination of experience and skills that have led her to her current work as a residential access design and resource specialist. Her passion really is fitting the environment to the person, knowing the intricacies of an individual, the myriad of options available, and helping individuals meet their goals for easy living at home. She, as I said, has worked in occupational therapy in acute care, rehab, as well as home care. Essentially, the sequence one might encounter if they have had a hospitalization gave her the medical knowledge, importance of the specifics of equipment in relation to the environment, and one's both overall and detailed needs that they may not even realize. Shifting her focus to independent living, she became the director of the Adaptive Equipment Service at Boston Center for Independent Living. This is only the second independent living center in the nation, and Jackie, in a little bit, you can tell us a little bit more about what that means, an independent living center. With her adaptive equipment team, they found, modified, or designed and built products to meet an individual's needs. They built custom products that later became products available on the market and received an award in Washington for these products. Finally, recognizing that there was no advocate, educator, or coordinator, especially not one with an OT background, for homeowners who wanted to make their homes more accessible, or to the contractors doing the projects, she started Solutions for Accessibility. And she continues this work today in helping people develop lifelong, easy living homes. As I'm sure you can kind of hear, there is a perfect kind of a fit and a marriage between what Kendal at Home does and what Jackie does. I think we have very similar kind of purposes and missions. With that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Jackie, and I'll be in the background as Jackie's talking. If you have thoughts, questions, type them in the chat box or the Q&A, and I'll be minding those. Jackie, if I think one fits with something you're talking about, I may pop on and interrupt you, for lack of a better way to put it. But if not, I'll hold them until the end.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's all yours.
I have been so excited to find out about Kendal at Home, and all of you that are involved in that just must be so happy that they even exist. This is a great service. It's overdue, and boy, is it going to be well used, I think, here in Massachusetts. So it's so needed. So from what I'm understanding, you all are very independent, and you want to stay that way, of course. And it strikes me that you might be a really proactive group. And in that way, maybe planning for the future might be something you're interested in, especially since you've joined us today. However, excuse me, every now and then something happens. Like it was a great day. It was finally spring. You went to play tennis and oh my gosh, it felt so great. But oh, the next day, boy, did you hurt. And it hurt just to lean over to turn on the faucet for the tub, to fill the tub. And then you thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to the bottom of the tub? And then you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get out? You know, so we never know what's going to happen. You might go in for elective knee surgery or something, and there might be some needs during that time. So whether it's a permanent need or a part-time need, we all face it. I had to use crutches about 2 or 3 years ago. I was not fit for crutches. So I learned a lot more. I'm always learning more. So let me see what else. Yeah, the point is too that there's just so many things. There's I always say to people, there's an app for that, which is actually there's an answer for that, and maybe several answers for whatever the issue may be. And whether you're adding on to your house or doing a renovation or just widening a door, those are all things that I take a look at. I work with people who are doing those modifications, additions, maybe a garage conversion for your parents to come live with you, or for are you doing ADUs there, accessory dwelling units there in Ohio? Maybe not.
It's not,
Not heard of that.
I'm familiar with. So I'm guessing not, and I think I just heard Marla say not that she knows.
Okay, but they are just like a smaller home that's built on the same property. So it might be built for a caregiver,
Okay.
or it might be built for a renter so that you can adjunct your mortgage or I'm sure you're not paying mortgage anymore, your taxes or whatever.
There definitely are people that are doing that across the country and here in Ohio as well.
Good, yeah.
I think it's become pretty popular for adult children bringing their older parents in and creating those kinds of living arrangements for them to be close by.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's really, I know it's a really good thing. Essentially, I'll do a very holistic assessment with the individual, and they might be at the hospital, and then I go to the hospital and then they're home, or the rehab, or maybe they are already home. And I go through and do a very detailed assessment. Some of it they don't even realize that I'm doing, but just a lot of intricacies that I'm keeping in mind, and I'm watching and I'm hearing them say, so that I can put that all together when it comes to doing the final recommendations and options. If they are going to, first I look at techniques. Maybe there's another technique to do something, as I'm sure Marla does too. And then I'll move into products. Maybe there's some small products that are going to take care of something to give them their independence again. Excuse me. And then, if necessary, I'll move forward to doing some drawings and some design work. And once we've decided on that, I do the specifications with them, and we're choosing materials and products, the fixtures and all the details like that. If it's a new home or an ADU or the garage, not necessarily the garage conversion, when necessary, I pull in an architect and I'll work with them on the project as a team. And then, so I do I give a packet to the contractor that is the drawings and the scale drawings, the elevations, and a scope of work, so that they're not all going to go in waving their arms around and give you, different, oh no, that's not to code, or this is this, but you know that what we have decided on is specifically for you. So that way you're able to get equal bids sort of on projects. So and then I stay involved through the whole thing, and I help collaborate with the product orders as necessary. And I'm on site several times while the construction is going on. and just stay involved. And then at the end too, do some follow-up. So that's that. What I'm going to show you might be things that you just want to keep in mind for friends or a family member or a neighbor. If you don't need anything right now, and you probably don't, but I just want to educate you about some of the things that are out there. So let me do the share screen. Take me a minute. Desktop. Nope, not Zoom. I'm learning. As I told Lindsay, it was my first time. There it is. Okay.
I think you're doing fabulous.
And I should have been up the whole time, huh? Okay. So luckily for you right now, it's not what you need. You know, I get that next week, or somebody's coming home from the hospital, somebody's coming home from the hospital or the rehab. But it's what you want. And you want to glide easily through your daily tasks, through your ADA, everything you do during the day. You want to enjoy the lifestyle that you have for a long time. You definitely want to avoid any trips to the ER. And you want to maintain your independence, your autonomy, and your choice. And with those goals, you can start planning. What do I want you to take away today? There's many options that are available that can help you reach your goals. Customization is important. One size does not fit all. Nothing is to code in a home, at least it shouldn't be in Ohio either, because that is a residential home. There are codes that are very helpful to stick with because they make really good, safe sense, but I'll be talking about that a bit too. And you do want somebody with a medical background as your primary partner who is going to consider the home modifications when you're considering the home modifications and the changes. Ideally, it should be somebody with a background in OT, and luckily you have Marla there, which is perfect, because a lot of our work is on functional task analysis and helping you reach your goals for independence. And just remember how wise it is that you're being proactive and you're beginning to develop an easy living home now.
I'm going to just interrupt you briefly. I apologize. If you can click on the bottom and put it in presentation mode.
That's right.
Down at the bottom, the little screen looking.
Yeah. Is that it?
Two more over. Down where you were. Oh, that'll work too.
Whoops, sorry, that didn't do it.
I'm sorry. I debated a lot. If you go down to the bottom where you were.
Yes, yep.
Perfect. There you go.
Oh, that one. Okay. Perfect.
There
Thank you.
Go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, here it's going up on top. So this is a strong belief of mine. No matter what your abilities or limitations are, if you can set up the environment and your products and your surroundings and your resources and everybody around you, especially your environment, that's going to give you just so much more independence and autonomy. So, like I said, I've worked with people that I worked with a gentleman actually who worked in a mechanic's yard, and a huge, wasn't a car, but it was a heavy other car fell down on him. And essentially he had the spinal cord injury that was a level of Christopher Reeves, so that gives you an indication about what his function was like. And I did work with him. We set up his house, and by the time we finished, he was able to call the elevator, get on the elevator, go down, open the doors, go out, go visit his neighbor, go down to downtown and buy flowers for his wife, and come home and dim the lights for a romantic evening together. So it's very rewarding. It's always possible. So as I said, we do a lot of task analysis, just like a coach or whoever works with baseball players and other sports players. They're analyzing every single thing they do to get to be their best. When we do assessments, that's what we're doing too. We're looking at every single thing you do and every muscle that you have to move and the balance that you need to use. Also looking at sensation and judgment and cognition and a whole package of things put together. I did a count one day about how many movements it takes to get in a front door. And by the time you've reached into your pocket, which of course includes shoulder extension and some elbow flexion and putting your hand in the pocket and feeling for your keys, a little kinesthetics there, pulling it out, reaching for the door, getting it in the keyhole, turning it, maybe two hands, keeping your balance while you open it. Maybe you have to push it open a little bit more. There's a lot of steps involved. And as you can see, there's a lot of skills involved in that. Move this one here. So I can, whoops, there. Okay. Oh, did I skip two or just one? Okay, don't know how to go back. There we go. Okay, and I've talked about that because I do want to get onto the other stuff. Do you all know, I'm sure you all do know that there's at least 4 different types of quote unquote accessibility. Universal design is was developed, I think, in the 80s or so by a gentleman named Ron Mace. He's the granddaddy of universal design. And the whole concept of that is that it's the designs and the products are usable by anybody, no matter your age, your size, your height, your age, whatever, that it's available, that's usable by everybody. Visitability was after that, and it was developed by Eleanor, who somebody knows, Clark, that's not her name, you're going to see it in a minute, down in Georgia. And there's only 3 things that need to be in place for something to be visitable, and we'll get into that. And adaptive design, accessible, and custom. So actually, let me go into those slides. Oops. And well, there's biofilmic design. This has been around for a long time, but it's really, really getting more awareness now, I think, too. It's an evidence-based design that, as you can see, it draws on neuroscience, environmental psychology, and various subfields. And by bringing the green in, looking at it, being able to see it, et cetera, it reduces stress, it improves cognitive performance, and enhances perception, mood, and emotion. That's pretty intense, just be able to look at a tree. I like that. They did these studies too, and they found that just having a window to look out at when you're in the hospital has sped up the healing process. And also just having plants in the room has done the same thing. So as I said, universal design is usable by all people, regardless of their size, age, or abilities. Visitability, these are the 3 things. So when a friend, your cousin wants to come over, they happen to use a wheelchair for Thanksgiving or Easter or Christmas, whatever, for the holidays, you've got a couple steps. Somebody has to carry them upstairs, and then up the couple of stairs outside. And then if they have to go to the bathroom, they can't get in the bathroom. They have to go back outside and go to the hotel down the street. So the whole concept of visitability is that it has 1 0-step entry, so they can get in, doors that are at least 32 inches wide, and 1 bathroom on the main floor that you can get into in a wheelchair. I thought this, Eleanor Smith, I'm sorry, there it is. I thought this was a great statement. When somebody builds a home, they're not just building it for themselves. That home is going to be around for 100 years. There's going to be a lot more people that use it. So let's start designing them right from the start, right? Okay, and here's a good example of adaptable design. And this is one of my favorite types of design, really. And I think this is what should be in all the new homes. Essentially, in this situation, the floor and the wall is finished. You can see it there underneath that countertop. So the countertop is in place. If somebody just wants to keep it there, use it. If somebody ends up wanting to sit at that space or uses a wheelchair, they can pull that cabinet out. Everything is supported. Now, in this situation, this is a countertop that goes up and down. Most are just the same countertop all the way across. But you can see that this one also goes up and down. Isn't that a great idea? This is especially good in the bathroom too. We all know accessible, truly accessible designs enables the individual to do what he or she wants to do independently. And the custom design, which which is what I do, is a home that has every design detail, the products, the materials selected just to meet that person's specific needs now and into the future, to help them maintain your independence, your autonomy, and support their dreams and lifestyle. There's fortunately, unfortunately, some pretty standard aging things that we can all count on, so that that's part of that too. But also just the awareness, and that's why I was talking about the OT, the awareness of a specific diagnosis. And only because I've probably seen, 50 or more, probably 100 people with MS or with MD, I sort of have a sense about where they may be going. And that's where the difference too, the importance of having an OT on board, because as a contractor isn't going to even know the difference in those two diagnoses. So actually, this is from Rosetti Lynn. We were talking about her the other day. Houses with visitable, now this is 2016, I'm not sure now, but they would sell 8.5 days faster. The realtors figured that there would be an increase in about almost $15,000 in the value if they were visitable, which is a very low cost to do, actually. And they just had a very positive effect on aesthetics and good design. I was working with a modular home company for a while who made accessible modular homes. And they had it set up at a huge fair one year, and there were 2 or 3 other ones also on the lot. And people would walk into this one and they'd say, "Oh, this is beautiful. It's so big and it's this and that." They had no idea it was accessible, which was beautiful. I just really like that fact. Just, you've got the elbow room and you've got the room, and it's just easy to move around in and use. Any questions so far? Speak up if anybody does. Please interrupt me.
Nothing yet, Jackie. I'm keeping an eye on it.
Okay. Actually, now, if you could all put on your unmute yourselves. Can you list at least maybe 5, 6 things that are good about this design?
Jackie, I don't believe they can unmute themselves, but if you could type it in the chat box, that would be great.
Yeah. Jackie, while people are typing in some of the things they notice that are unique or good about this design, one question I had, I know you're not local in the Cleveland market, and some people joining us here today are probably from Massachusetts and a little more conveniently located for you. But, in this virtual world that we live in, if someone wanted to consult with you or gather some of your expertise, would you be able to speak with them remotely or virtually and assist them as well?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I found that during COVID, actually. But one thing too that is that if they have a smartphone, sometimes I'll have them walk through for me and take pictures. Yeah.
Good.
So what's showing up for answers?
Lindsay said that the ramp was something that she thought
I tried to jumpstart it. And for anyone who's not certain, the chat box is down at the bottom. There should be a little bubble. There we go. Lots of space, says someone. It's nice and open. Anything else that anyone sees? The color changes for the path.
Good. Yeah.
Plants, there's a seat outside.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. There's biophilia, especially if you sit down there for a minute.
A wide doorway.
Yeah.
And someone thought that there was a glare on the patio there.
Because of a single lamp, he said it would cause glare.
When it's on at night, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
I believe so.
Okay.
And we really can't see if there's another lamp on the other side. So
yeah,
that's only shows that one has a handrail there too.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that there are some stairs, a couple of steps over there. And I know even watching people go up and down the stairs, it's always nice to have a handrail. I don't see that.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. I was surprised.
Mm-hmm.
this isn't my project. I like the fact too, and this isn't one of the things that I was thinking about initially, but see how that step is so short there, and it's more
Mhm.
standard here. When steps are uneven, that's a real tripping hazard, actually.
Yeah.
So it's nice that they've at least blocked off that part. And I think it
And
gives
then
the,
Todd also pointed out that the light is illuminating that left side, but not so much the right side by the doorway.
yeah, and I'm kind of surprised there's not, unless it's somewhere up here, a light over here, because oftentimes I'll put a motion sensitive light right there. But the other
Right.
thing here is the numbers. So we as visitors always have to find houses, and sometimes it's very, very difficult. So this is something that's always appreciated. Many people don't put a light down at the end, which is troublesome, but that's, I can see the other aspects. The chair is good to have here, either to sit or to put maybe groceries down. There should be a shelf back in there. And yes, the door is wide and it has visitor identification panels in it. There's an overhang to protect them from weather when it's nasty out. And what did I miss? Am I missing something else? I like this is very, very gentle, just nice too. And like somebody said, the contrast is really important too, since there's no edge, which you can usually do up to 3 inches. But okay, anything else that I missed?
Not that has come in.
Okay. Anybody thinks of something? So there's that shelf outside the door, not that house, but as you can see, it's, and you know, probably very, very helpful. You know what I would like to, and if you know, anybody knows, the one-way glass, the mirrored glass sort of that you can put on existing doors or windows, does not work at night. Because I would like to be able to see out, but not somebody see in. See if I'm sitting right there, for instance, if I was in my chair, for that privacy issue. But there must be some glass that works at night too, but I'm not sure about that. Okay, so right now, if you were building a new house or some new space, a zero-step entrance might be about $300 to $600 based on many factors, just to have no step right at the threshold, right at the door. But if you needed to add a ramp later, it's going to cost anywhere from at least, well, out here, $3,000 to $7,000 or more, based on the material and length. I recently had a woman that wanted to, she was dealing with 40-something inches of rise. And because of the top landing and the turning landing and everything else, the ramp was going to be 67 feet long almost or something. It was awfully long. And even talking about weather, because we're in New England, as you have bad weather too, and everything, versus a vertical lift that only took up a little 5-foot footprint. She wants to go with the ramp. So I'll be anxious to see it. It's not in yet. I was talking about numbers. Could do something like that. But at least the big numbers. I like it when they're near the door somewhere, actually, or the mailbox if it's a long driveway. There are very few, but this is at least one sliding door company that makes a low profile threshold. So you don't have to get up and over not only the first lips, but also the runners. And you also have to make sure that you're buying one that's not just 6 feet, because it's not going to open a full 3 feet. So you want to buy a little bit wider than that. These I love. This is an invisible ramp, and I'm sorry I don't have the picture of the front of it, but from the front it just looks like a porch, as you can imagine. These are the wildest stairs I've ever seen. This is a really dangerous handrail, and you can tell right here why. Because there's no way that if you start it to fall, there's no way that you can grip around it to catch yourself. So if anybody has one of those, even a friend or whatever, I would encourage them to put in a round or oval handrail. And you all know stair glides, stair lifts. They are available to wrap around the bottom. They're available to wrap around 90 degree, 180 degree turns at the top. You can get your pet upstairs. So they're very handy. When you have, this is a situation I see a lot in the colonial homes here in New England, maybe you do there too, is that the steps end right at the door. And normally that rail, you can see where it would be right there if it didn't have the hinge on it. So these are motorized hinges, and when you go up, it moves out of the way. So nobody's going to trip over it. These are through the floor lifts. Oops, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you that one. Yeah. This one was outlawed in Massachusetts for a while, but now they are allowing it again. Thank goodness. When it's down, you have full use of the upstairs. You can see the hardwood floor on top of this one. And when it's up, you have full use of the room space underneath. And it just runs on that track. You don't have to build a whole shaftway. There's no mechanical room, no pit. And these are the new ones. How about those? You like those? Do I get any yeses? Some more. I had to show some more of these.
Jackie, Lindsay, those are pretty amazing.
And again, there's no pit and there's no mechanical room. Yeah, so what you see is what it is. Nice and crisp and clean. Okay, so you're walking down the hall and you've got really diminished sight. I would start worrying that this is not, I wouldn't know what that quite was. And as you probably know, somebody that does have vision loss, and actually a lot of people that have any type of dementia will think that a dark spot, especially a black spot, very contrasting spot, is a hole. And so they won't go near it, which is actually a reason why some assisted living facilities will put a black carpet outside of the elevator space so that they don't get on the elevator. There was one facility early on, before all this stuff was studied, that had a black strip along the whole side of the hallways. And so when many people, when they were walking out of their room, they would try to step over it because they didn't quite know what it was. That, as you could probably tell, but now that you see it in context, is the reflection from the glass. And that's not a bad carpet. There's some that are really, really awful, right? Except it's a carpet on the floor, on the stairs. So if you can picture that looking down, you're not going to see anything. This is what you would see. This is a different carpet, but that's what you would see. So it's really, really frightening. Just pay attention to what patterns or whatever you're putting on the stairs. This one is good. These are actually the pads, but it does have, you can see the front edge of each step. We all know the issue that we have when we go into from outside into an office or a store or whatever, and it takes a while as we're getting older for us to sort of adjust to that light. And that's because our pupils are getting smaller and the muscles to control them are less elastic. But I think these two numbers are scary, but helpful, very helpful. A 60-year-old individual needs 3 times more light than a 20-year-old. An 80-year-old needs six times more light than they did in college. So add those lights, they say layer them. So they're throughout the room, different levels. This was interesting to talk about students for a minute, but this was done in Germany. They controlled the light settings, which was like the hue and the Kelvin and the brightness and all those different aspects, and did an assessment of what was working and what wasn't. And they got it to the point that the kids' reading speed went up 35%, which is pretty high. Frequency of errors, 45% decrease. And the hyperactivity behavior, 76%. Can you imagine, just by changing lights, we could make teachers' lives so much easier. And so this is true for us too. And lighting can boost your creativity. It has a biological and physiological effects that can impact your health and well-being. And psychologically, it can decrease depression scores and even increase cognitive performance. All with light. I love it. So add as much natural light as you can. These are solar tubes, and I'm sure some of you know what they are, but it's a tube with mirrors in it, and it goes right up to the roof, and there's a dome over it. And so that is natural light that's all coming in that hallway right there. Beautiful kitchen, lots of light. Lots and lots of light. Don't forget to put the lights under your upper cabinet. Lindsay, I think you're talking, but I can barely hear you sometimes.
It's not me.
Okay. Kitchens, once again, a lot of task analysis. And these are just some of the adaptable things that are out there. You can use this height adjustable base on a sink or a stove. And this is helpful because it's your storage, but you can also wheel everything around as you need it. These are very common in cabinet interiors that can be helpful. And if you go on a site called Rev Shelf, REVA Shelf, there's thousands of them. And there's always something that you can see that you would be able to use. Whenever I can now, I put drawers in the kitchen bases instead of doors. This one comes forward and down. There's other ones that go straight down, but then you can't put anything on the cabinet, countertop underneath. And this one gets you a little bit of access to that space above the fridge that you usually can't reach. And Lynn, you and I were talking about this a bit yesterday too. But I liked Lynn has seen too, there's a stove that has a pot in the stove that has a drain in it, essentially. Is that the best way to explain it? So you can do everything right there. You fill it, you cook it, you drain it, all in the same spot. But if you can't.
Yeah, it's so dangerous carrying those big pots full of hot boiling water right to the sink from the stovetop. And so this one, it actually just drains right from the stove. You fill it at the stove and drain it right there from that cooktop.
Yeah, it's perfect. But if you're not changing out your stove anytime soon, this is, again, something simple, easy. This is when I say I talk to the person first about products. Well, here's like a $5, $10 item that you can use because you can take the food out while it's hot, but you're not having to deal with the water until after it cools down. Bathroom's the worst place, right? So push or pull. That's my first question to everybody. Some people do better pushing up and some people do better pulling up. There's so many grab bars now. I just love it. You can get them any color. You can get more colors than that. I love the purple. It's curved ones. It's ones that almost blend in. If you have low vision, it's great to go with one that has some color to it. If you have white tiles, something that's has at least a little contrast. Because that was one of the things that I was talking about earlier there, the proprioception is sort of knowing where you're reaching and where you are in space, so that if you're starting to lose some of your proprioceptive sense, it might be hard to sort of just reach for the grab bar. It might not be where you're thinking it is. So have something that has some good visual cues for you. These ones are teak. These are different. This one's made by Mullen. They have beautiful ends. They can go anywhere from $30 to, I think I saw one for $300 the other day. This is a really good product. Look at all the things it does. So she can hold it while she's stepping in. It has the vertical bar that she's holding in the middle one. She can move it out of the way while she's showering. That circle up there is because of the blocking. If somebody's going to change their bathroom and they don't want to make it fully accessible or put any grab bars in yet, I tell them to at least put the blocking in the walls, and I'll tell them where to put it, which is most of the walls actually. But this is a little bit higher than what the standard would be. So on a tub, I actually have somebody put in the blocking right from the very bottom up to at least that height. Because the other thing, if somebody's actually using the tub, is that I like to put a very, very, very low, long horizontal bar right above the top of the tub. These fit a lot of needs. This is one of my favorite bars right there, because as you can see, she can rest, she can pull, she can push. It's a good height when she's standing. And this one is good too. Plus, she can be a little bit further away. So say it was somebody that you were taking care of that had to hold on to something while somebody was managing their clothes. That gives the person a little more space. And if this person does better, this is good for somebody that does better pulling right in front of them. That's the same one that was in the shower, as you can tell. These multifunction ones have been out for a few years now, and they're really good. They solve a few, and they just integrate into the whole environment so much nicer. There's a whole lot more than that too. Okay, and I lost my mouse. There we go. And these are some very minimalist designs. This is actually a toilet paper holder. Oops. So I was talking about pulling, pushing. This is a very interesting location for the bar, and that's what worked for him. So that's perfect. Otherwise, I'd be putting one very low down here, and we'd be talking about that. Now, if it's really hard to get into the bottom of the tub, this is a great option. It eases you down. It starts, I don't have the high one, it starts up at the top and then eases down. As you can see, however, there's about 2.5 inches. That's about the lowest that any of them will go. I've done spreadsheets on these and everything. So your body's going to be higher in the water. So besides needing the extra length so that your knees aren't up to your chest, because this doesn't go all the way back either, depends on the shape of your tub, you're going to be wanting a slightly longer tub and slightly deeper so that you really can be in the water and not just up to your belly button. Many of you know these shower seats, I'm sure down here on the bottom. Those are shower benches, which I'm sure Mala would agree too, versus a shower seat. Because when it has 4 legs in, you have to step in, so you're on one foot then the other, the balance, etc. But this one you can sit on right from outside, swing your legs over and slide over. These are, now if you have another family member that's using the same bathroom, that can be sort of a pain in the neck. So these are 2 other options. This one hinges from the back. And not only does it hinge from the back, but it has the extra height that makes it more of a chair height rather than 14 inches off the ground, if that's what you have. That's way back. On the other hand, if you want to be closer, this is another one that does it from hinges from the side. And here's just one example of a curbless shower. Person can roll right in, no matter if a person needs it or not. If they're ever doing their bathroom, just put this in. I like this storage beside the toilet too. That really helps. This is very close though, so that was an issue. Again, not my design. Here's a couple tricks for the bedroom. Electric motor. It's for the, not only for the shades, but also for the windows are available. And this is motion sensitive when you get up at night. During the assessment, I look at all the outside activities and family responsibilities and hobbies and all their other interests so that we can really make sure that everything is being addressed. This, I love, this is a pièce de résistance. If any of you have a sunken living room, I know my mom did. And it's difficult, it can be difficult for somebody, especially if the person uses a wheelchair. This converts from stairs to a vertical lift. I was trying to get the video on, but I couldn't do that. Whoops. I hope that was it. Yep, it is. So I want you to remember how wise you are to be proactive now and beginning to develop your easy living home just by coming to this. That was great. Bring in the green. It benefits your mind and your body. Add more lighting for many reasons, for not just for seeing things, but for your health too. Remember those numbers, it's 3 to 6 times more. There's so many more options. There's just so many things that Marla and I know about that, you know, you mention it and we probably have an answer for you. Customization is the key. There's no cookie cutter answers. And as I said, have an access specialist on your team, and you're lucky to have one there in Ohio. So that is it. So what questions have shown up?
None this second, Jackie, but I will on this. This is a great opportunity. Anyone who's been, oh, I'm sorry, I did miss one. There was just maybe a little bit more about some costs on lifts, how expensive. And I'm guessing your answer after hearing you, there's probably a wide range, but can you give us a little bit of an idea?
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about a vertical lift outside, or that one through the floor, or?
You know, I believe
I think his question pops up when you show the lift that
Yeah,
in the
let me
house.
go back actually.
Todd, if we're incorrect, you could just clarify, but I think it was when she was doing the lift through the floor.
The through the floor ones, now they were, like I said, out of commission here in Massachusetts for a while, so I'm not sure how much the price has gone up, but excuse me, they were running around 13,000, I mean. Must be near here, or did I go past it? No, there we go. Yeah, that one was running around 15,000 or so. You can get a vertical lift outside that we've all seen in commercial buildings too, for I think around 1920. Well, okay, the 46-inch one that or 40, it was going to be a 48. They come in increments, so it's going to be a 48-inch rise. That was running, I think, close to 20,000 for that. On the other hand, some people do shaftways outside of the house. So you build the whole shaftway, and no matter what, this only goes 2 floors, this one here. But if you're doing a vertical lift, you can bring it right from your basement, from the garage to the first floor. That part has to be a fireproof shaftway. Okay. And then up through the first floor into the second floor. So you can have dry access through your whole house, right from the car to the bedroom, essentially. So that's a possibility too. And then, yeah, like I said, the shaftway, oh, I can't even guess on that one right now. And the new ones, I don't know. I was going to try to call my contractor before, one of the contractors before I spoke, but I didn't get a chance.
Tell him about something like that. I bet that's pretty expensive, right?
Yeah, that's the one I don't know. I was going to call him before we spoke, but I didn't get a chance to call.
That's beautiful, though.
Yeah,
pretty.
But like I said, you're eliminating the pit. They're very easy. This is it. I mean, you don't have to build a 6-inch or 8-inch pit underneath it like you do with some lifts. You don't have to, or have a mechanical room right next to it on the lower floor. Like I said, what you see is what you get. So I think that there's some savings with that too. But I will let you know when I know. So I'm anxious to know too.
There is a question asking who's Marla. I did text her to ask her to join us. Marla Gordon is our, oh, there she is. Marla is our Director of Clinical Services, and she is an occupational therapist. And we intentionally recruited her because of that background and expertise, because I think, you know, so much of what we want to be able to do is remain independent in our homes and really focus on ways in which we can help our members to remain independent. And I know so many of our members over the years have made, you know, just remodeled their home and incorporated some of these ideas. You know, I think about maybe 2 years ago, we did a field trip. We had about, I don't know, 25 or 30 members, and then some who joined us down in Columbus. And we went to the Universal Design Living Laboratory in Gahanna, which is right near Columbus, and visited with Rosemarie Rossetti, who's a woman who had a horrific accident as a young woman. A tree fell on her and rendered her paralyzed and in a wheelchair. And I think she was living in a 2-story colonial at the time, and said she just became a prisoner in her home. So she and her husband have built a universal design living laboratory, and we had the chance to go down and visit. They're incredibly hospitable, but every concept in that house is designed for her in a wheelchair, but also her husband who's 6 feet tall. And I think so many of us look at this, Jackie, and think, oh, if I put grab bars in and, those kinds of things are going to be so ugly. And I think you showed some beautiful design concepts that really just fit right into the home and really don't have to be ugly or unattractive in any way. Just thinking about some of the simple things we could do. I know having closet rods that come down so you can reach things, shelves in the kitchen. I mean, I'm not in a wheelchair, but I certainly can't reach any of the upper shelves in my cupboards in my kitchen. So then you're climbing on stools or ladders to get to things, and that's definitely not a safe way to go. So incorporating these concepts certainly makes so much sense for all of us.
And
Yeah,
with the,
I think these are beautiful. There's some really, I mean, the teak bench and the grab bar on the wall is beautiful.
And so often we hear from people that, well, I don't want to do that because, it would ruin the value and the look, and this stuff is absolutely beautiful. Jackie, our friend Todd, who was asking about cost, he's an architect and he's done a little research, I think, and it sounds like 30 to 50,000 for the fancy glass through the floor is what he's his understanding.
Thank you. Good. Okay. Going back to the value too, I think with the growing awareness and acceptance of these things, and they're just, they're just normal to us now, that the resale value is going to go up when there's some things already in place, and nobody's going to be thinking anything of them anymore. But I did a high-end home show. I was telling Lindsay and I'm sorry, God, the other day that I did a really high-end home show, and you could hardly tell that there were any accessible things in there. They were pretty well hidden. But I had a gentleman who was in his 90s who was quite bent over on using his walker, and he came up and he literally did, no, I don't need that. So it's very much a mindset, unfortunately, but I think it's a mindset that's changing. Yeah.
I do think it's changing. And, when you talk about the cost, I know my parents have been evaluating an elevator in their house. And my father's thought process is, when I look at what it would cost if we move to a community someday, to start preparing now, we can stay in the house. And really the cost, when you put it in perspective, it's not as much as the initial, I think, maybe sticker shock someone might experience.
Right. Break it down over the years. The other thing too is in Massachusetts, I don't know if you have something, you may know already, we have something called the Home Modification Loan Program. It's a state program, and the person can borrow up to $50,000, and they don't pay it back until they or the children sell the house. So that is, a lot of my clients have used that, and it's been really helpful.
Jackie, there's another question from Todd. I don't know, Lindsay, if you want to just allow Todd to ask his questions out loud, you probably can give him permission.
Sure.
But the
Todd,
question is,
I'm going to allow you to, I'm going to turn on it's going to ask you to turn on your speaker.
Thank you. What I was typing just now was how marvelous this whole program has been. My Lord. I was wondering, Jackie, if you would talk to us about when you move from a rollerator or whatever that needs 24 inches clear in the door to using a narrow wheelchair, a 32-inch version. I had one for my wife when she needed one for a little while. How do you think about that as am I going to have to make so many changes with the wheelchair that it's, we can do the rollerator, but the wheelchair is doubtful in this condo we live in.
That's a good point. And as you know, too, it has to do with the ratio of the hall width in relation to the door width. Because if you have a good wide hall, you can do a nice swing into it. So it sounds like you maybe can't.
Well, if
And-
you have a 5-foot circle, we're all right. I think so.
Out in the hall?
Yeah.
And it's still hard to get the wheelchair in?
No, it would be to get it into the bathroom because
Oh,
it's going to be hard to widen that door.
oh, okay. Wow. It must be, I wonder what year it was built. It always amazes me. Remember they used to do
78.
bathroom doors, what, 24 inches or something?
Oh, yeah, it's 22.
Jeez,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's hard almost to
Unbelievable.
get a person in
It-
sometimes.
It was a really cheapo developer project in the late 70s.
You probably know about offset hinges. And
No,
that's just going to give you the thickness of the door. So you're going to gain about another inch, inch and a half, because it pushes the door, like there's one more fold, it pushes it away. So you get
and
the
you
full,
don't need the jam, the stops.
true, you could, yeah, just do a small one up at the top, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever, couple, yeah,
Ooh,
nice.
good thought.
Yeah, so you gain up about 2. What year was the condo built? Do you know?
77, 78.
Ah, yeah.
You know Harbor Towers probably next to the aquarium.
Oh, you're here. Yes. Yeah. Yep. The tall. I know somebody that used to live on the top floor and they could see the water in the toilet moving. Is that the building?
Yes,
Yes.
they're fairly flexible.
Jackie, thank you so much for all of this information. I think it's fascinating. And every time I listen or see all of these concepts, I think about ways of incorporating them. It's amazing how much safer and easier and more convenient we can make our homes, by just incorporating some of these simple designs.
Yeah.
We had a sunken living room in our last home, and I can tell you so many people would fall because it was right next to the entryway into the home. We actually extended the entryway just to avoid that from happening. But it just
What
I
was
don't know
there,
why
did
people
you
thought
say?
that was a great, pardon?
What was there?
There a sunken living room, so it was a couple steps down. I don't know why people thought that was a
Yes.
great concept ever.
I know. I know. I don't know.
This seems so ridiculous, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that product that I showed you would have been perfect for that.
yeah.
I'm hoping we're not seeing those anymore. I don't know what that was, the 60s maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I hope that, if anybody feel free to call if you'd like. Todd,
Yeah,
thank you
and-
for the price on that lift, the elevator.
And I just want to, acknowledge Marla as our director, as I've said, our director of clinical services and also an occupational therapist. So Kendal at Home members know that she is part of our clinical team and working closely with our care coordinators. And Jackie's a certified living in place professional, and a number of our care coordinators have been through that same training and care coordination. We actually spent a week down at the Universal Design Living Laboratory with Eric Listu going through that training, and some of our home modification specialists have also been through that training and have that certification as well. So members have the benefit of that expertise and knowledge on our team and with our partners as well. So,
You've
and
got
Jackie,
a
I
great
think
package of people.
yeah, and definitely, I know that you have access to a lot of the materials that we saw today. So we'll be continuing our conversation with Jackie and incorporating some of her work. We hope to make some of these things available to our members so that if you want to incorporate some things that make your home more convenient and accessible, we hope to be able to work with her to make those things available as well. So thanks so much for joining us today. It's been great working with you this week and getting to know more and more about all of these incredible things that are out there.
Thank you, Lynn. Likewise. I'm so excited that you're coming to Massachusetts.
We are happy to be there. So thanks, everybody.
Take care.
And if you're not a member of Kendal at Home, but you're interested in learning more, please connect with Lindsay, and she'll be happy to talk with you more about potential membership in this program.
Thanks for the plug, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you
everybody
so
for
much,
joining
everyone.
us.
Jackie, this was absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye, everyone.